Yeah, I was struck by your film quite a bit, especially the way you shot it. It was very intimate. If I felt like a fly on the wall sometimes listening to these conversations. And so I wanted to know, like, how did you get so close to the fires and how were you able to capture these very personal moments with all these, with everyone that you were working with?
Um, well, it was a long process. It was almost like 3 or 4 years just shooting and also the researching process. And at the end, we got friends during the researching process with this fire company because at the beginning, my research was in every company in Valparaíso. It's like around 15 companies, and at the end I took the decision because I had like a like a human connection with this group of people, like first of all with the captain, with Hector. So I think that connection like allows me to take the decision, okay, I'm going to stay here. Also, I think not every company knows how to work with forest fires and structural fires. So it was a good opportunity of having many experience of how to tell this movie. But I think it's a process of time which allows you to get so close to every to to the fires and also to your characters.
Yeah, you had some very compelling characters. That Baptista, the French officer, he could have been a documentary by himself. And
Yeah, yeah.
I felt like that from what I saw of your documentary, they had a good relationship with the Chilean firefighters. However, there were conversations where it seemed like the French wished they were kind of limited. Their ambitions were bigger than what they were able to do. So, in your opinion, is
Yeah.
the French presence in Chile making a difference, or is it just a way for the government to say, hey, we're doing something?
The thing is, the firemen in Chile are voluntaries, and every fire company, mostly, I think, in every city in Chile has relations with a colony from 200 years ago. So now there are mostly Chileans who still have this connection with how these countries deal with fires because in every country from Europe they have different techniques, but at the end, what Batista does is, and his team is to come like every 2 years and try to bring new techniques, and I think the company really appreciates like how like this input to them because they are voluntaries and everything is very precarious, which is around like of turning off the fires. And this is what also for me was super interesting about the firemen work in Chile. It's not very common to find like such an important institution for the country, like led by voluntaries, for voluntary people.
Yeah, like the way the French and the Chileans were working together, like I didn't feel there was a hierarchy. It seemed like they were trying to make it equal and balanced. But going back to what you said,
Yeah.
from what I saw,
Sometimes they get lost in translation. Sometimes they get lost in translation because even they are like a French company, nobody speaks French. So this is kind of, and they all, when I don't know the word in English, but when they are like in line in the formation, with the captain is saying like all the everything what they need to do to the rest of the firemen, they use French words, but they don't know what are really saying. So it's just tradition who start like after hundreds of years, this is what you have.
yeah, there's a certain protocol that everyone just kind of knows.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
from what I understood, the eucalyptus that's kind of causing this fire is mostly in poorer neighborhoods. And I wanted
yeah.
to know, how do you think, like, how do you think this contributes to the government's sort of lack of efforts, as you said, in making firefighting a legitimate profession where people can have influence and can make it a career instead of just volunteers. Because this is a big job. There's a difference between a house and a burning fire, like in the
Yeah.
woods.
No, no, and it's getting worse every year. I don't know if you heard, but this summer in Chile, in February, it was the biggest fire in the story of this country. In the same area, the movie was shot, and it was because of the same, like it was a forest fire in the eucalyptus monoculture, and also because of many problems we have in Latin America about migration, many people has been coming to Chile and staying in these places where the human life is not allowed, because you don't have any service. They live in the cliffs, like just on the border of this forest. So the catastrophe was brutal, like more than 130 people die. It's like thousands and thousands of houses got burned. So it's getting like a super, like a huge problem, not just in Valparaíso, which has a story of fires, but in the entire country. And I think for me, something must change. And the firemen in Chile has this tradition, and sometimes it's difficult to just change this. I think when I start like asking, because you always have half who wants to keep their traditions and half who wants to be professionals and to change the system, but this is I don't know what is going on there. To be honest, I don't know why I don't take the decision, but I think because how like climate change is changing, like, and creating these catastrophes. I imagine like something must change.
Yeah, some of the scenes in your film, like of people screaming and the firefighters being unable to do anything about it. It's like it was a horror movie actually in some parts. And
Yeah.
I like the way you connected it to the political situation with what's going on with Chile's constitution. And I wanted to know, like, how much of this disaster is man-made versus natural?
Well, I think because uh, that territory Valparaíso, who's a little bit dry with a lot of wind and a lot of cliffs. These places always got burned, even before it was colonized. Actually, the name of the Valparaíso before was Alimapu, which means like burn land, you know. So this place always got burned. But sorry, I want
Oh,
to introduce you
oh,
this,
sorry.
but I forgot.
The political situation.
Yeah, no, no, yeah, about the circumstances of why this get caused. Caused. It's mostly someone start the fires, and you have many theories. Sometimes they because this monoculture is also to make for the wood industry, also recently they discovered some people from the CONAF, which is the institution to take care of the forest. One of these person who works there start a fire, and you don't know the causes, you don't know what is behind. So it's many theories, but it's not fires mostly don't start just naturally. Always is someone behind, you know.
Oh, interesting.
And now we have a huge case in Chile because of this fire I told you in February. They are kind of figuring who started the fire. You know.
There's a scene that was a bit terrifying when you were in the riots and everything started to break out. and you had to hide your camera, like you were moving out of the way. I think that you were kind of like literally in the middle of it. What was the atmosphere like that day?
Sorry, which moment? I
I'm
lost
sorry.
the beginning of the.
Sorry. There was a moment in the documentary where you were in a protest, and it kind of turned
Ah,
into
yeah,
a
yeah, I
riot.
know.
Yeah. What was the atmosphere like that day?
No, it was really strong. Like everything could happen. It looks like a little bit like a war, you know,
Mm.
because I was shooting this, and from one moment to another, like police start shooting me, uh, and everybody start running, and I never thought that is going to start happening to me. So we start running with the team, and and it was super dangerous. Was almost at the beginning of the shooting also. So kind of said how strong this process is it was going to be, because we shoot during 3 or 4 years, and the beginning of the shooting was in the riots in Chile in 2019. It was a coincidence, but also this was related with how the Chilean system is not working. Like I think um, like socioeconomic inequality of the inequality we are experiencing in this city is getting the city collapse. And for me, fire is really connected in many ways with this issue, not just like the forest, like arising the poorest people of the city, but also in the heart of the city in the way of protest. So part of the movie is how fire is connecting everything.
Yeah, like the end of your movie, it ends with all these screams and like really into the fire. And for me, it meant that this issue it's not as simple as just pouring water over it. And so
Yeah.
for you, I think the film did a great job of connecting this environmental issue to all these sort of chronic issues in Chile regarding inequality and everything you just mentioned, this tension between traditional and more modernity. So where do you see things going moving forward?
It's difficult to understand, because I think the issues getting every year is getting bigger in Chile. Like bigger and bigger fires are rising every summer, and the fire is destroying communities. And as I told you, like the reasons of how these fires start are not very clear, but we are knowing like humans are starting these fires. So I hope like the government can take like structural decisions about who's going to take care of this and having a lot of prevention. But also you are fighting against the nature, because the forest in Chile is getting drier and drier every day. Also the monoculture industry change all the native forests for pines and eucalyptus, and these trees uh, like takes all the water of the soil. So now, and they are really easy to burn. So also like the forest we are firemen are confronting is like a pack of, I don't know, the phosphorus, you know, like a box of, how you call, yeah,
Um,
but
well,
yeah, but it's a super difficult issue, which I think Chile and many countries are confronting in terms of soil getting dry and fires, because when a fire starts, can be it's a hell, it's even with all the resources you have, helicopters, planes, because this is how you turn firemen. What they do is to cut some the passes of fire, but what they who really do their job of getting the fire down is helicopters and planes, you know, planes with water. But I think when the fire gets like super huge, it's almost impossible to stop. You
Yeah,
just need to wait for a rain or something who can help to the process. You know?
yeah, like the shots in your movie of them, like the smoke going over this entire forest was terrifying, to be honest. It was like going into some type of hell. And so
Yeah.
I felt your movie created a sense of urgency, and I thought it was excellent, and I thank you for your time today. What would you like people to take from your films?
Sorry, can
I'm
you
sorry,
ask me again?
what would you like people to take away from your film when they watch it this weekend?
For me, I think I have two goals. First is to have like a cinematic experience and to travel a little to this place and to understand like the crisis which is this place confronting. And also I think everybody can get connected with what the forest fires are creating in many countries, even in the States, in the West, you know, like every year something is going on. And and I think this is connected with something bigger, which is like how we are dealing with our planet, you know. So I hope this movie can also connect you with this idea of taking care.
Excellent, very beautifully said. I hope you have a safe flight and enjoy the festival.